everyone, TeacherSorce here. I wanted to show you my narrative, fairy tale, and opinion writing bundle just to kind of see what's inside and what each of these mini units look like. It is 3 different 4-week mini units, but they definitely could be elongated depending on your student's progress and how much you want to work on a specific skill. They are digital ready and printable, so you could utilize these in your classroom or you can utilize them for distance learning or virtual learning. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you the fairy tale writing unit. And the fairy tale writing unit goes along and looks at what a traditional fairy tale has in it and then how do we adapt the traditional fairy tale to make our own. So each unit is going to have the Common Core standards that are tied in, and then it's going to tell you what each of the week's focuses are. So it lays it out pretty well for you so you can kind of get a picture as to what each week is going to be doing. Seesaw links and Google Classroom links are included. Let me head down to what the weeks look like. So every week has a week 1, week 2, and then it'll tell you what day it is. So if you wanted to literally structure this out every day, having a different activity for the kids to do, if you want to assign it weekly, that's how the links are laid out. Or if you want to kind of like model it with the day and then your students go ahead and do the day at home, that works as well. So for this first week, they're just looking at what a fairy tale is. What components does a fairy tale have inside of it? So they're going to watch a fairy tale and they're going to try to figure out what did the fairy tale have in it. Once upon a time, long ago, magic, good characters. And then they're going to dive into looking at a traditional fairy tale, Cinderella. And then they're going to be looking at who the main character is, other characters, main event, setting, and character motivation. And this table is going to be coming up very often. And then they're going to be using that to figure out if they made a version of Cinderella on their own, how could they use it to change and adapt it to make it their own. So they're going to watch this Interstellar Cinderella. If you've never read this book before, it's super cute, and it takes the traditional Cinderella fairy tale and it tweaks it to be an adaptation. And then they're going to try to compare the two. How was the adaptation compared to the classic version? And then they're going to try to write their own adaptation for Cinderella. Every week at the end, for the fairy tale unit, they're writing their own adaptation version of that specific traditional tale. So week 2, they're going to be looking at Little Red Riding Hood, that traditional tale, and then they're going to be watching an adaptation of Little Red Riding Hood, and then comparing the two again, and then they're going to try to make their own adaptation. They're also going to have an option to listen to a bunch of other read-alouds of other versions of Little Red. So again, they're really diving into what an adaptation looks like, how it kind of keeps the structure of a traditional fairy tale, but adapts it to be their own. They're going to write theirs again. And these all have text boxes in them for when they go to do it online. Week 3, same kind of thing, 3 little pigs, looking at different versions, comparing the two, making their own. And then the last week is really diving in and trying to make their one of the drafts that they've created from the last 3 weeks into their own and really kind of edit it and make it their best. So they're going to be looking at the story mountain, how to utilize introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution to really map out their story. And then they're going to be making a final draft. Now, this is 1 week in the unit. This definitely could probably be like 2 weeks long, where you really focus in on teaching these components and you model the introduction, then the kids do the introduction that day. You model rising action, then they do it that day. I'm all about trying to model the activity when I'm with them in the class. They really get a grasp of what the instruction is, or if I'm doing this over video chat, and then their extended practice is going to be at home, obviously. And hopefully they've been listening to my lessons so that they know what's going on. Okay, so then there is a little editing checklist for them to use, and then a rubric for the fairy tale writing for you as the teacher to use. And then they're going to go back, illustrate their story, and then you can figure out a way to celebrate your kiddos. If you're on Seesaw, you can have them like record themselves reading their stories and posting them. Lots of different options. Okay, that was fairy tale. Now the narrative writing unit. This one really, we had a ton of success with this past year, utilizing these strategies. So again, all the weeks are laid out for you, all the Seesaw and Google links. And what this unit is doing is it's really having them brainstorm different things they could write about. And then they're going to go back and choose one of those things and try to come up with a story that has a beginning, middle, and an end. A lot of times kids are writing and they're like, oh, I'm done. It's like, well, no, you didn't tell the whole story, or you didn't really pinpoint the exact details of what was going on. So that's kind of to help them start to think about breaking their stories up. Okay, they're going to be writing some more, recording themselves if that's a possibility, going back, editing, looking at the story elements. And then these are the things that we're going to be focusing on in the rest of the unit. Did the story go in sequence? Can they add details? Can they show their emotions? Can they have dialogue? And then thinking just like, did this character learn a lesson in the story that they wrote? So first they need to look at like the structure of a story. So they're going to listen to the story Enemy Pie, and then they're going to do a matching activity and try to figure out what's the beginning of the story, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. Just to really think about how stories go in order, stories go in a specific order, and even stories in our own life do. And then they're going to do this with their own story. What would be the beginning? What would be the rising action, the climax, the falling action? Following that, they're going to be looking at emojis. Our kids loved this activity. Just thinking about, well, how do you create stronger emotions in your writing? And then they're going to be looking at some kind of like boring words, and then they're going to use this thesaurus online to figure out what's a better word for happy, what's a better word for mad, and then is there an emoji that would really bring that emotion out? Okay. Then they're going to go back in their writing and try to add more emotion. So it's all about teaching them a skill, and then they're going back into their writing to kind of really edit it and elaborate and add more details in. Then they're going to be looking at spicing up their writing, making more interesting word choice, telling and not, or showing and not telling. Okay, writing some more. And then they're going to be learning about dialogue, how to mark up the dialogue, and then go back in their stories, see if they can add it anywhere. Checklists again, story mountains again, that rising action, introduction, all of those components, looking at those again, and then they're going to write our final draft and illustrate a final draft of their story, narrative story, again, editing, and then a rubric for the narrative writing. So you will always find a rubric in these, so that way you as the teacher can utilize those editable rubrics to give them a grade, if you're using distance, or paper pencil if you're using it in class. The last unit is an opinion writing unit, and again, it just tells you what the contents are in this, the weeks, the links for Google and Seesaw. In the opinion writing, we're using the Oreo strategy. So we're going to look at what their favorite season is, do a little tally chart, and do an interview of their friends and family, texting people if you're doing this digitally, or in class if you're using this in person, voting about people's favorite seasons. And then they're going to be connecting that to their own opinion, favorite season, utilizing this graphic organizer to put in reasons. And just really hitting home, like when you have an opinion about something, you need to support it with detail. So they're going to be learning about how to write 3 reasons to support your opinion, closing statements, examples, spelling, all that good stuff. So like I mentioned before, they're utilizing the Oreo strategy, opinion, reason, example, restating your opinion. So that's going to be kind of going throughout. And they're going to be looking at examples, coming up with their own, okay, and then really elaborating on their reasons and examples. And then they're going to be looking at how to start their paper off, coming up with a hook or a question or a fact. And then they're going to practice that, okay. And then again, utilizing these organizers to help them write and think about their ideas. Then they're going to be learning about transition words, how to start their sentences off. And then they're going to look at an example of a story and see if they can underline certain things, or putting a box around the reason. So again, they're kind of learning how this would apply in an exemplar piece. Okay? And then you're going to use, this is really fun. So this link will lead them to links of different topics they could write about. They're going to click on this link, and it's going to head them to a website where they're going to hit the wheel, and it will give them a final writing piece to write on. If they don't like the choice, they can click it again and choose another one, but it's just kind of a fun way to help them get an idea. Again, brainstorming, then we're writing, then we're editing, and then we're grading. So 3 really great units that you can utilize with your kids that really give them some structure to their writing and have them going back in their writing to make it better. So hope you like this. Let me know if you have any questions.